back to Kaulig Nation, your one-stop shop for all things Kaulig Nation, Digger Nation, SVG Nation. I'm sure there's a Josh Williams Nation out somewhere, but I don't think Ryan and I are a part of it. Joining me as always to preview arguably the most famous oval in racing, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. What's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing? First off, it is the most famous racetrack in racing, not just oval. It's
I feel like
Indianapolis.
F1 fans that might be coming at you with pitchforks now.
Let them. They're wrong. That's okay. Listen, Indianapolis has a special place in my heart. I go to the Indy 500 every single year. I've been there for 25 years, almost consecutively. Look over this shoulder, my shoulder right here. There's a Indy car in the collection of race cars. That is Elio Castroneves' fourth Indy 500 win. I love Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It is my home away from home. I go every year. I am not looking forward to this race. It's going to be terrible.
I think for the Xfinity guys, it's going to be okay. I'm expecting a race similar to what we got with Pocono, but I'm also expecting a race similar to the Cup cars, which is unfortunate because, man, the road course run so well for both classes, and I know they wanted to get back to the oval, but I wish they would have considered what cars are taken back to the oval, right? Like, people wanted to get back to the oval, and you sacrificed a pretty fun, entertaining road course to go back to an oval where a car is, unless something massive changes this weekend, is going to struggle, and we're not going to see a bunch of passing. And let's get the Kaulig Cup stuff out of the way first. They're probably not going to be good. It doesn't matter how good AJ Allmendinger is at that track, and he is good. He was on pace to win an Indianapolis 500 if it weren't for a loose seatbelt. It won't matter. You got to generate horsepower at a track like this, and you need to be able to pass. And there's not going to be a whole lot of passing, period. I do wonder, though, if people have enough for disaster to happen where they're trying to pass in the turns and get under people, and you get sliding up the racetrack. And I do think, even though the racing might not be good, there might be a doozy of a wreck that makes the one in the Pocono Cup race this past weekend look like, baby fodder.
Well, I will say the one thing about Indy is the track is extremely narrow. You're not going to be seeing cars going 3 wide, 4 wide, 5 wide. If you see them going 3 wide, yeah, we're going to see a pretty bad wreck. It's just not meant for it. It can't really handle it. So with that, I kind of feel like the risk of a super bad accident kind of goes down. But all it takes is one car to, feel like they have grip and then they lose grip and then they get spun around and they're going to back it into the fence pretty hard and they could collect a few cars. So I could definitely see that happening. But man, the racing, I understand. I totally understand why we're going back to the oval. It is the most prestigious racetrack on planet Earth. Sure, it can be argued that maybe Le Mans or what is it?
Monaco.
F1? Monaco. There we go.
Send the NASCARs there. That'll be a disaster to watch.
Yeah, so that would be a disaster. You could obviously have those arguments, but the track winning on the oval is one of the biggest feats in all of racing. I understand why they're going back, but there's also a reason they left the oval, because the racing, especially with NASCARs, just aren't that good. They're too big, they're too boxy, they're too heavy. They don't have the same performance that an IndyCar does, where they can basically go flat out around that place, and the Cup just can't. So it's going to be super hard to pass. They're all going to be running super similar speeds. It's going to be another track position race, pit strategy race. You can pit and not lose a lap at Indianapolis, so that is an aspect to keep in mind. But I'm super disappointed we're losing the road course. Obviously, it was a place where AJ and SVG would have opportunities to win. But I also, last year was a caution-free road course race, and that was not much fun either. So
that wouldn't have happened, though, if we had the stage breaks that never should have left to begin with, though.
Yeah. So with that being said, Kaulig is going to struggle. again, my prediction for Cup is probably about where they were last week at Pocono, right around 20th and 25th. Obviously, things can happen. Stages can be flipped. You might be able to get some track position and somehow get a top 15 if things really bounce your way at top 10. But they're going to be really struggling for horsepower at a track where horsepower is at a premium. And just as a reference, before they stopped going to the oval, the winner of that race, the oval, had gone on to win like 6 of the last 10 previous championships that same year. So it is the track where champions are found. And I just hate to say it, but Kaulig, Trackhouse, they're not at that level right now.
No, they're not. They're going to struggle. I don't know what kind of package they're bringing there this weekend. You can bring whatever draft package you want, but at the end of the day, it's not going to help all that much, in my opinion. The Xfinity cars, I think, is going to be a different story. I think we're going to see some decent racing there. But again, Kaulig's Xfinity program is kind of two-faced. They could show up and, have 15th place speed, and AJ has to try to muscle a top 10. Or they could show up like they did this past weekend, where they're top 5 speed and have a shot at a win. And that's what I hope it is. Would love nothing more than to see AJ Allmendinger win at Indy. I don't think he'll be in the cards for SVG this weekend. I think this is going to be much like Pocono. I think he's going to struggle for the first little bit, and then we'll see what happens. It depends how the cars drive. If you can pass, then I think by the time you get to stage 3, SVG will be right back in the top 15 and doing his thing. But we'll see how he unloads. But I'm guessing it'll be more the same like Pocono. That's not me trying to get on SVG Nation's bad side. That's me just trying to set realistic expectations. And the Kaulig cars don't produce the horsepower the RCR cars do in Xfinity. Not exactly sure why that's a thing, but it is. And no one's producing the horsepower the Gibbs guys do. So, although the Gibbs guys, I think, are bringing, I read Joe Graff Jr., and I forget who the other one is. It's a weaker Gibbs lineup this weekend, though. I look at that and go, hey, that's an opportunity, anyways, to be better than them. And unloading will be big, man. I'm curious to see what it goes. I don't even want to give a prediction yet. I don't. I'd rather give our predictions on social media once we see how they unload, because if they unload great, then they got a shot. But if they don't, then it's toast, barring some sort of insane disaster.
Well, I will say I want to give myself a pat on the back because my predictions last week were pretty damn close in both races. So I see you're trying to take that away from me. I see where you're going with this. But no, truthfully, the thing I want to really emphasize in this SVG's week in and week out modus operandi is struggle in practice, struggle in qualifying, improve throughout the race. This is just one of those tracks where it's going to be really hard for him to gain track position. Even if he's got a better car, similar to Pocono, it's even in the Xfinity cars, it is still going to be really hard to pass. It takes a couple corners, a couple laps to set up your pass. It is not something that you can just muscle your way around a car. You really have to finesse it. And I do think SVG is extremely good at that. But the Xfinity races are short. And if he's starting deep in the pack, it's going to be hard for him to get up front.
For sure. You can't just dive bomb it at Indy. You got to be inside someone before you even enter the turn. And even then, it's not a great place to be if you're the guy on the outside, because if the inside guy washes up at all, he's probably collecting you. So I don't know what race it'll happen in, but I'm expecting carnage in one of the two races. Not if they all get spread out, but it takes one slip on a restart, man, and then there's nowhere for anybody to go afterwards. But who knows? We've seen Indianapolis before bring a tire where guys can't even get 10 laps on the tires. And guess what? That's happened a couple of times in Cup this year. So I'm curious to see what kind of tire compound they're using, and to see how it plays out for them, because that could throw a whole different wrinkle into the weekend. Anyways, that is going to do it for us, though. For Ryan, I'm Sean. This is Kaulig Nation. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you next week. And hopefully we have some damn driver announcements soon. But we'll see what happens. Have a great weekend, everybody.